Well, hello there. This is Virtual the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Get my merch at chessnoob64.com. Welcome to another episode of Chess Noob Game Review, where the goal is to see how a game could have been improved. Now, I'm really excited to show you this game, which I played against my subscriber, Bogo Indiana Jones. They played really well, and their style is a romantic style of chess. So what I like to play, gambits, aggression, and they managed to completely crush me in the middle game with a double brilliant attack. Well, let's go take a look. They played really well. You know, I wasn't even cross, wasn't even angry at the end. I was so enthused by their fantastic play. So they led with the King's Gambit. So e4, e5, f4. Now against the King's Gambit, I usually accept, and now they play a very unusual line, knight to c3. That is the Mason-Keres Gambit. According to the Lichess community database of low-rated games of Blitz and Rapid, this occurs in only 3 in 1,000 games from the King's Gambit accepted position. So the reality is the player with the black pieces will probably have never seen it before. I certainly have never seen it before. Most common moves are knight f3, bishop c4. Now, in this position, I thought for quite a while. Now, this was a daily format game, so I had plenty of time to think. Now, of course, with the King's Gambit, you can always potentially have queen to h4 with check. However, I'm always worried about King's Gambit positions because I've never really studied them, on whether or not my queen will get trapped. And so I didn't really want to play that very committal line. And so eventually I played knight to c6. And my rationale here is that this transposes into the Vienna game Max Lange defense, Vienna Gambit, so the Max Lange defense, Vienna Gambit, accepted. So I'm somewhat familiar with the position, though I'm usually playing with the white pieces, so I decided to transpose it this way. Now, just to be clear, let's go back here. So let's say e4, e5, the opponent plays Vienna game, Max Lange defense, and this is the Max Lange defense, Vienna Gambit, accepted. So see, that is the same position. So let's go back to this specific game. There we go. However, if you look at Stockfish, Stockfish reckons, queen to h4, check is best. Now, I didn't see a particular trap, but I was just worried, but that is best because here with check, if they block, they're in some trouble because you can take. That is pinned to the rook. Movement there gives a discovered check. Basically, white is in some serious trouble. And of course, weakening that dark square diagonal around the king is often very problematic. Here the best move, in fact, for white is to bomb clout their king. And in this position, we can play g5, bolstering that pawn, or bring the queen all the way back to e7, attacking here, trying to put pressure, and it's happy days, basically, for black. But I didn't play that. I played this move. Now, in this position, they now play another gambit. This is actually known as the Steinitz Gambit in the Max Lange Vienna Gambit line. Now, of course, they're attacking that pawn, but I decided to give that up. So with the King's Gambit, I am up material, but often, trying to defend and protect that material ends up being problematic. So I decided to not defend it. And that's the way I actually usually play the King's Gambit. More modern, I take, maybe the modern defense approach, be willing to give that up, and instead, in this position, focus on, if they take that back, they potentially lose a little bit of tempo. My goal is to develop solidly and then try to move into a middle game where I'm up on evaluation. And that's the thing, often with the King's Gambit positions, black actually ends up a little bit better if black plays solidly, just develops normally. So that's what I decided to do. So I decided to play the bishop, pinning that knight. As expected, they took that pawn back, so we're back now to material equality. Developed the other knight, and here it's not so easy for white to play. They actually needed to play bishop to g5, pinning my knight. That's a little bit hard to see. And this developing move is an error because, of course, they hang that pawn. I take. They develop the other knight. I bring the knight back. I don't want to trade. I don't want there to be a discovered attack with their queen. They move here. That's a mistake because exactly what are they doing? Attacking that knight. I can capture back. That's no worries. I push d6, now opening up the diagonal, asking the question. They're forced to move their bishop a second time. Take back. I'm ahead on development. They now short castles, but in this position, it's actually about -3. Black is substantially ahead. So my strategy of not being greedy, not trying to maintain the one gambited pawn, focus instead on development, be willing to give up that pawn, actually was correct. I'm now in the middle game, and in fact for the rest of the middle game until the very end, I'm either neutral or slightly ahead. So even when I make mistakes, it only goes back to neutrality. Now, here I wanted to create an attack on the opponent's king. I couldn't quite see what to do. You can see Stockfish here suggested, maybe c6. Best move was just to whack that knight, damage that structure over here, or maybe advance the knight. I couldn't quite see what was the best move, so I decided to play queen g6, which was a mistake. We're back to equality, so I'm not worse off, back to equality, but this does give white some potential attacking chances, which is why it was a mistake. Push, that's fine. That's got a discovered attack on the queen, so I had to move the queen out of the way. That's partly why that was a mistake. Then knight jumps forward. I give a check. King now forced here. That looks pretty good because that pawn is now pinned. I give short castles. They give a check. I just move my king out of the way. Here with an attack on the queen, that's fine. That looks like that's a potential hanging pawn. There we go. They move. You can see that was a mistake because I can take. However, even though that was technically a mistake, white is, again, playing that aggressive gambity sort of style. Effectively, they gambited that pawn. And now they've got a really strong attack on my king's position. So 1, 2, 3, 4, potentially 5 pieces, all potentially facing my king. So they've got a really powerful attack here. Stockfish doesn't believe in their attack. They think that I am basically ahead. However, it's quite difficult for me to defend the position. Now, the obvious move here is it looks like there is a fork there with g6. However, the more I looked at it, the more I sort of convinced myself I couldn't play that move because after g6, it looks like, if obviously they're going to have to move their queen. If they move their queen, and then I take, they take back, and then, then they've got this double attack with bishop and queen staring at h7. Looks like a mating attack. So I really didn't like that. Now, Stockfish actually thinks that this position is completely fine and that this is, in fact, the correct move. So what the engine sees is here, yes, the queen has to move out of the way, so infiltrates. However, they don't have a mating attack because, that is defended, basically 3 ways. However, I cannot take that piece. And in fact, bishop to d7. And now the goal is potentially to attack this way. And you can see rook harasses the queen. Queen can now take some material. Knight basically has to jump out of the way. There we go. They sort of now advance forward to get out of that attack. Rook moves forward, having to attack down the other side. It's a really complicated set of moves. Now, here advancing a little bit further, and effectively Black maintains a little bit of an advantage. He can nibble away at White's material, and Black is fine. But that's a really complicated engine response. I did not see that, and instead what I did was Knight jumping forward to f4. Now this is technically a mistake, But however, I thought that this was a very clever move. I thought maybe it was even a brilliancy. Not really, because it's attacking the bishop. It's attacking the queen. And I thought that in this position, they're going to have to move their queen, possibly all the way back here to defend, potentially to defend that bishop. Either way, next move, I can whack the bishop, takes away one of their attackers. This suddenly becomes possible. So I thought that this was a very clever move. And in fact, if you look at the evaluation, this move gives a substantial, it's a good advantage to black, like -2, -3, maintains -2, -3. As long as white doesn't find their one good move. Can you see that move? Well, white sacrifices their rook. Bang! It's a brilliant move. I took, that is my best move, and now white launches another brilliant move and sacrifices the knight. Absolutely incredible. Now here, I thought, ooh, if I take with the king, the queen and bishop are lined up here. I thought there was probably a mating attack, so I didn't play that way. The interesting thing here is, look at that evaluation. Still 0, 0, 0. So that was in fact the best move. I had to actually take with the king. Somehow the king is fine. King captures, queen takes with check. King now slides here. Rook here. Looks like they're pinning the queen to my king. However, forward, bishop move, blocking that. They attack the queen. And here, absolutely extraordinary. I have to move the bishop out of the way, connecting the rooks, sacrifice the queen, but now rook to h8, and the queen is actually trapped. The queen cannot escape. Like, you might think that maybe the queen could escape here, but bang, it is still, in fact, trapped. So, in fact, the best move here is for white to give up the queen, take the bishop, take the queen, they take the rook, rook here with a skewer, they move the bishop back, take the knight, here we go, and in this position, somehow we end up in an endgame where it's bishops and rooks versus each other, and it's a 0-0-0 equal endgame. So that's an absolutely incredible, transformation. I completely didn't see that. And in fact, here, I thought I could not take. I thought how I had a very clever move with f5 because, look, to me, it looked like, they can't give another check. If they take here, 1, 2, 3, 4, but, I did have 1, 2, 3 at least. But that's a blunder. It's a completely losing blunder. Can you see the move? You see the move that led to my opponent's win? A very, very beautiful knight to g6 family fork check. Emotional damage. I opted to resign in this position on move 20. Good game, GG. The big takeaway from this game is that keeping the pressure up on your opponent's king, even when the engine doesn't support it, is often a winning tactic. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.